We've all been taught to fear one specific moment, the moment we can no longer recall a loved one's name. We see that as the beginning of the end.
But it isn't. It's the confirmation that the end has already occurred. The real story begins a decade, sometimes two, earlier. It unfolds not with memory, but through silent, structural failures inside your brain. Signals you are likely dismissing right now as just stress or getting older. My name is Aura. In my work as a psychological observer, I found the most critical truths are often the quietest. Today, we will learn to listen. We will go through 12 of these hidden signals, and one of them, signal number 10, neurologists take it very seriously. It means the thief is no longer just stealing your memories, it's beginning to alter who you are. Let's begin to read the brain's warning lights.
The first is in the air around you, and nearly everyone mistakes it for something completely harmless. So before we decode that specific signal and the 11 that follow, let's adjust our perspective for a moment. This is important. Think of these signs not as a verdict, but as data, fragments of a puzzle about your brain's hidden operations. I want you to listen like a quiet observer, a detective of your own inner world. Your only task is to notice patterns. Now, let's return to that first clue, floating in the air around you. It's your sense of smell, or more accurately, the ghost of it. It's when a pot of fresh brewed coffee smells like vague, warm water. A blooming rose has no scent at all. It's the world's richness, its detail, slowly being muted.
You might blame it on allergies or a passing cold, but the neurological reality is far more significant. Your olfactory bulb, the part of your brain that processes smell, is a direct pathway to your hippocampus, your brain's librarian and memory hub. This is one of the very first pathways to show signs of decay in neurodegenerative disease. This isn't speculation. Landmark studies from the University of Chicago, later reinforced by research from the National Institute on Aging, found that a poor sense of smell is a powerful predictor, more than doubling the risk of a dementia diagnosis within 5 years. So your sense of smell is a canary in the coal mine. But the next sign isn't something you sense. It's a critical janitorial function your brain fails to perform every single night. And this failure is turning your mind into a toxic waste dump. That phrase isn't just for effect. It is a physiological reality happening inside your skull. This is sign number 2, chronic sleep disruption. Think of your brain as a city where the sanitation department, called the glymphatic system, only works during your deepest sleep. Its job is to wash away toxic proteins like amyloid plaques that accumulate during the day. When your sleep is consistently broken, that cleanup crew never finishes its shift. The trash piles up in the neural streets. This creates a devastating feedback loop. The toxins damage the very parts of the brain that regulate deep sleep, making it even harder to rest the next night. You wake up feeling like you haven't slept at all. This is a sign your brain's most essential maintenance is failing. Failing to clean your brain at night is a path to degeneration. But the next sign is different. It's not invisible. It's a physical clue you leave behind on paper, a written record of your brain's decline that you can track over time. That written record is your handwriting. The third early sign is called Micrographia. It's when your writing becomes consistently smaller, the letters looking more and more cramped together. Here's a simple observation you can make. Find an old birthday card or a notebook from 5, maybe 10 years ago. Place it next to something you wrote today. What does the comparison reveal? Handwriting can change with age. Perhaps your fingers have grown a bit stiffer. Micrographia signals something different. It's a steady, progressive compression over time. It's as if your brain is commanding your hand to write in a smaller and smaller font. This happens because a deep brain structure, the basal ganglia, is struggling. This region helps regulate the amplitude of your movements. Your handwriting simply becomes an early, visible proxy for other motor control changes that are much harder to see. The brain's signals can be subtle, moving from the physical, like your handwriting, into the purely cognitive. This brings us to the fourth sign, a fundamental breakdown in how you manage thought itself. You're in the middle of a focus task,
cooking from a recipe, following intricate instructions on a project, a phone rings, or someone asks you a simple question. Before, you could feel the interruption and return.
Now, the experience is different. It feels like your brain's operating system can only run one program at a time. The moment a second window opens, the first one doesn't just get paused, it crashes completely. You're left staring blankly, the thread of your original thought severed, utterly gone. This isn't a lapse in focus or just being distracted. It is a direct signal of declining executive function, which is managed by your brain's frontal lobes. The complex circuits in the prefrontal cortex, the part that juggles multiple information streams, are losing their integrity. Your brain's sophisticated ability to multitask is becoming a one-track mind. And this decline isn't just in your conscious mind, it surfaces in the things your body does on autopilot. This is sign number 5.
Next time you walk past a shop window, watch your reflection. Does one arm hang a little stiffly? Does it swing less than the other? That natural arm swing is an automatic motor program. It's run by the motor cortex and basal ganglia. When those areas degrade, the program begins to corrupt. It's a sign almost no one notices. A quiet stiffness today can be the precursor to a more obvious shuffling gait in the future. Okay, let's pause here. We're 5 signs in. Smell, sleep, handwriting, focus, walking. It's a lot to process, and it's easy to tune out. Don't. Each sign is a different lens on the same problem. If you only focus on the major ones, you will miss the pattern. Seeing the pattern is what gives you power. The next sign is a perfect example of this, often mistaken for a psychological problem. A change in your walk is a motor failure, but the next sign attacks something more fundamental, your capacity for joy. It's how this condition chemically strips the color from your world. This brings us to sign number 6, a quiet, creeping apathy. The hobbies that once brought you life, that woodworking project, the weekly call with family, suddenly feel like heavy obligations. The anticipation you once felt for a gathering is replaced by an overwhelming sense of effort. It's a strange, hollow feeling. This is a clinical state called anhedonia, a profound absence of feeling, the graying out of a world that was once in color. Deep inside, your brain's reward system is malfunctioning. The intricate dopamine circuits, which are supposed to light up and create feelings of pleasure and anticipation, are going quiet. The motivational engine itself is failing. You might tell yourself you're just tired or stressed, but simple fatigue is a physical debt your body pays with rest. This is a chemical bankruptcy of the spirit, a void where the very capacity for joy used to be. And just as the brain's internal chemistry can falter, so can its ability to interpret the physical world around you. This brings us to the 7th sign, a subtle yet profound warping of your spatial judgment. You might find yourself consistently misjudging the distance to the curb while parking, or you start bumping into door frames and furniture in your own home, spaces you've navigated unconsciously for years. Your first thought is to check your eyesight, but the prescription is often fine. The issue is not with the hardware, your eyes. The problem is with the software. Deep within the occipital and parietal lobes, the parts of your brain that act as the architects of your visual world, the processing is beginning to glitch. The raw data from your eyes is no longer being translated into an accurate 3D model. The program that builds your reality is becoming corrupted. And this corruption doesn't just distort the world you see, it begins to unravel the very stories you hear. This is sign number 8, the lost thread of story. Think about watching a complex TV series you once loved, or even just listening to a friend recount their week. Suddenly, you realize you're adrift. The thread is gone. You can't recall a character's relationship to another, or you miss the punchline of a story because you forgot the setup told just moments before. This isn't a simple lapse in attention. It signals trouble in your temporal lobes, your brain's master storytellers. They process language and weave plot points into a coherent narrative. To do this, your working memory acts like a loom, holding multiple threads at once.
When that loom starts to falter, it's easy to blame external factors. You might think shows are just too complicated now. The quiet, more difficult truth is that the internal machinery that constructs and follows a story is beginning to lose its power. And this loss of power doesn't just affect how you follow a story, it shows up in the raw speed of your mind. This is sign number 9, a noticeable delay between seeing and doing. It's the moment you see a glass tip over, but your hand moves a fraction of a second too late. You see a ball roll into the street, and the impulse to step back feels buffered. Think of it as your brain's internet connection being downgraded from fiber optic to dial-up. The information arrives, but it takes an agonizingly long time to load. This isn't your muscles getting slow, it's the processing speed of the brain itself. The myelin sheaths, the insulation around your neural wiring, are degrading. Signals that should fire instantly now leak and lag. This brain lag is a sign of decaying wiring. All the signs we've discussed so far are critical warnings. But the one we're about to cover is the one I mentioned at the very beginning. It's the sign that when it appears, the game changes, because it's an attack on the very source code of your personality. And here it is. Sign number 10. Subtle, yet unmistakable, shifts in personality. Suddenly, a person who was once easygoing becomes irritable or suspicious. Apathy replaces passion for cherished hobbies. Empathy erodes, replaced by inappropriate or calloused comments. Why do neurologists take this so seriously? Because these changes originate in the frontal lobes, the very seat of your judgment and personality. By the time the fundamental you starts to change, the damage is no longer on the periphery. It has reached the very core of your identity. These are not character flaws or choices. They are symptoms, signs that the brain tissue responsible for who you are is literally disappearing. The person you know is being unwritten. When the person in the mirror becomes a stranger, the damage is profound. But the brain is a strange machine. Even as it's erasing your personality, it launches another, more subtle attack on the things you do without thinking. Like the simple recipe you've made 1,000 times. Simple recipe. You don't even look at the instructions anymore. The flour, the salt, the timing, your hands just know what to do. Until one day, they don't. You find yourself standing in your own kitchen, hesitating, searching for a step that was once pure instinct. This is the 11th sign, difficulty with familiar tasks. This reveals a failure of your procedural memory. The muscle memory, the ingrained habits stored deep in your basal ganglia and cerebellum. It's the code that lets you drive a familiar route without thinking about every single turn. The real warning isn't just fumbling. The true signal is that you now must consciously force an action that used to be automatic. Your brain is switching to manual override. Forgetting an instinct like this is a procedural memory failure. But the final sign looks like simple forgetfulness, and it is the most misunderstood of all. It's the difference between misplacing your keys and finding them in a place that breaks the laws of logic. And that place is the refrigerator, where you find your wallet sitting next to the milk, or finding your reading glasses inside the sugar bowl. This is the 12th and final sign. It isn't the frantic search for something you misplaced in a hurry. It's a moment of quiet, logical breakdown, a discovery that makes no sense. The reason for this lies with your brain's ancient librarian, the hippocampus. It builds the spatial maps that link an object to its proper context. When this system begins to decay, the maps scramble. It starts filing things in the wrong place. The most unsettling part? You have no memory of putting it there, because the memory itself was never properly encoded. The action took place without your conscious brain ever writing it down. It's a glitch in the very architecture of memory creation. And here is the sobering truth that connects all 12 of these subtle signals. By the time memory problems become obvious enough for a doctor's visit, massive amounts of brain tissue have already been lost. At that point, reversal becomes nearly impossible. Stop. Take a deep breath. That is a terrifying thought. It is meant to be. The cost of looking away is absolute. But that sentence is not the end of this story. It is the reason this story must be told. What I just described is the outcome of doing nothing. Now we are going to talk about what happens when you decide to do something. Recognizing these signs is a powerful call to action. It is a signal to begin. Your brain possesses a profound capacity to heal and regenerate, but it needs the right tools. It requires 3 things above all else. First, proper fuel. Think of the rich nutrients found in a Mediterranean diet.
Second, abundant oxygen, delivered by the kind of healthy blood flow you get from a brisk walk or a swim. And third, constant novel stimulation, the kind that comes from learning an instrument or wrestling with a new language. The key is to act now. You must begin while your brain still has enough healthy tissue and neuroplasticity to mount a recovery. These 12 signals are not a final verdict. They are an invitation from your own mind, a quiet whisper that grants you the most valuable thing of all, time. Time to act. If any of these signs stood out to you, perhaps for yourself or for someone you love, please share your thoughts in the comments below. This is how we build a collective awareness. If you found this information valuable, giving this video a like helps the algorithm show it to more people who need to see it.
And subscribe for more deep dives into how your brain really works. Don't wait for the whispers to become shouts.